Hi friends, welcome back to Cooking with Katie. Today's video is all about patience. We're going to be making a salted caramel cheesecake, the graham cracker crust, the filling, and the caramel on top. Each of these takes its own time. Everything needs to be at room temperature first, and the filling has to chill for 6 to 8 hours. But I promise you, if you stay to the end, you will not be sorry. So let's get started. Go ahead and preheat your oven to 350, and we're gonna really well grease a 9-inch spring pan. The cake has to be baked inside a water bath, so we're gonna take our spring pan and double layer it with really heavy duty foil so that no water gets inside the pan. The first layer. You want about 1.5 cups of crushed graham crackers. So we're just gonna put these in a bag and get them really finely chopped. So I'm putting 12 graham crackers in here, and we're gonna see how much that gives us. So we're just gonna, actually I'm gonna take my meat mallet and get everything really finely crushed. And you can use, these are cinnamon crackers, you can use regular honey. It might change the flavor a little bit, but we love cinnamon, so I'm gonna say. All right, so 1.5 cups of graham crackers. Now we're gonna take 1/3 cup of melted butter. So 1/3 cup, and then 1/4 cup of sugar. And then 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And we're gonna mix this up and then put it into our pan. So once everything's incorporated, you're gonna go ahead and put it into your spring pan, and we're gonna mash everything down very firmly. Most cheesecakes don't have the crust going up the sides, so make sure everything stays nice and firm on the bottom. So once everything is pressed down nicely, we're gonna go ahead and pre-bake this for 8 to 10 minutes in our oven that is set at 350. So this recipe calls for 4 blocks of cream cheese. So once they're at room temperature, we're gonna go ahead and put them all in a big bowl, and we're gonna whip them with our hand mixer for 2 to 3 minutes so they're nice and fluffy and there's no lumps. All right, so once everything's whipped up, you're gonna take 1.5 cups of sugar, 1/4 cup of sour cream, 1 tablespoon of vanilla, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And then we're gonna mix this all in and then add our eggs. See, it almost looks like frosting. That's what you're looking for. All right, now we're gonna take our 4 room temperature eggs and put these in. So room temperature eggs really are the key because it helps it to incorporate a lot quicker. We are not gonna be mixing this very much, and we're gonna do it on low so that it doesn't add a lot of air to the cheesecake, because that'll cause it to start to crack while it's cooking. All right, once all the egg has disappeared, we know to stop. Now our crust should be cooled off a little bit. We're gonna go ahead and add everything in, and we wanna make it as even as possible. And we're just gonna tap the sides afterwards to make sure all the air bubbles are released. And give it a nice good tap once it's all filled in. And then just take your spatula and give it a nice even top. You also want to go ahead and lower the oven temperature to 325 instead of 350. We're going to take a big roasting pan, and we're going to put very hot, not boiling, but very hot water in the bottom of this until it reaches about halfway up our pan. And be very careful not to get any water into the cheesecake. So it took my roasting pan about 8 cups to fill it to where I needed it. Now we're gonna put this whole thing into the oven for 60 to 75 minutes. Check it at 60. The way you know that it's done is that the edges will be set, but it'll still be a little bit jiggly in the middle. That's okay. If it's not ready yet, keep going until it is ready. So once your cheesecake is finished baking, you're gonna go ahead and turn off your oven, but leave the cheesecake still in there. Just have the door cracked a little bit for about an hour. This helps it to set completely and to not crack. So once your cheesecake is finished resting in the oven, you're gonna go ahead and let it rest again on a baking rack, 2 to 3 hours. This just helps it to set more and to completely cool down. Look at that, perfect. So once your cheesecake is completely cooled, we're gonna loosely cover it with some plastic wrap, and this is when it goes into the fridge for 6 to 8 hours. But trust me, it's an important part because it keeps all the flavors developing the whole time and makes it just absolutely delicious cheesecake. So trust me, 6 to 8 hours. All right, so now is the sauce part. So we're gonna have 2 different pots. We're gonna heat 3/4 of a cup of heavy cream. You want it to be steaming but not boiling. We're gonna put that on the stove, as well as 1.5 cups of sugar and 1/4 of a cup of water. We're gonna let it boil. We're gonna let all of the water evaporate out of the sugar, and we're gonna let this boil until it's a nice amber color. Do not walk away from your stove because it can go from really good to burnt very quickly. But as soon as it starts to get an amber color, then we're gonna put the heavy cream in there, as well as a full stick of butter cubed, and mix that all together nice and melted. And be careful when you add things to the sugar because it will start to bubble and you don't want it to accidentally pop you, because hot sugar is very, very hot. So this is a caution, be careful. All right, so it's time. Be sure to take a butter knife when you're taking off the spring pan around it so that it doesn't crack if it got stuck a little bit. And I probably could have made this a little bit more amber colored, but I don't have a candy thermometer, so I was a little bit nervous, but it smells great. We're just gonna pour it over the top. And you can add sea salt to this as well while it's cooling. And make sure this isn't hot either whenever you pour it on. I'm gonna just use that. And then add a few sea salt flakes on top, and she's ready to go. Smells absolutely amazing. So if you like this recipe, please like, share, follow, YouTube, subscribe, so that we can make more recipes together. Have a great day.